Thank you. At this time, please stand for the posting of colors.
Post. March. Face. Forward. March. Center, face, right, face, forward, march.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning. Thank you for being a part of our Veterans Day Assembly. Veterans Day marks the date when Germany and the Allies signed a 1918 agreement to cease World War I hostilities. The fighting ceased on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, according to the Department of Veterans Affairs. President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed November 11th as the first commemoration of Armistice Day signing. To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory. In 1938, Congress passed a law to mark November 11th as a legal holiday. In 1954, President Dwight Eisenhower signed a law that changed the name from Armistice Day to Veterans Day. At this time, I would like to recognize current Massillon City School District employees who have served in the military. If you are present, please stand when your name is called. Miss Gail Allen, U.S. Army Reservist. Mrs. Jen Smith-Heisler, U.S. Air National Guard Staff Sergeant. Mr. Tom Beal, U.S. Army. Mr. Greg Spencer, U.S. Army. Mr. Alan Eshelman, U.S. Army National Guard. Mr. John Glutting, U.S. Army. Mr. Timothy Jackson, U.S. Army. Mr. Jennifer Meek, U.S. Marine Corps. Mr. Rick Reed, U.S. Army. Mr. Terry Telford, U.S. Navy. Mr. Randy Stuck, U.S. Air Force. And Mr. Brett Shunk, U.S. Army. Thank you for your service. At this time, the advanced choir will sing the national anthem, "In America the Beautiful."
What so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose blood strikes and guides us through the perilous fight. For the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, forever waves of rain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on me, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea. Pilgrim feet whose steady passions rest, the thoroughfare for freedom beats across the wilderness. America, America, judgment thine every flaw. Confirm thy soul in self-control, thy liberty in law. Beautiful for pageantry, the seas beyond thy knees, thy alabaster stains undimmed by human tears. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
Lieutenant Colonel Sean McKee, United States Marine Corps, was born and raised in Spokane, Washington. He attended the United States Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Naval Architecture. Following graduation, he was commissioned as a second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps and moved to Quantico, Virginia, where he attended the Marine Corps Basic School and Infantry Officer School. He completed flight school in Pensacola, Florida, and was assigned to Marine Corps Base Camp in Pendleton as a UH-1N helicopter pilot. During his 20-year career, he completed numerous deployments overseas to places like Okinawa, Somalia, Kuwait, and Iraq. He was also selected to attend the Naval Postgraduate School in Monterey, California, where he earned his Master of Science in Electrical Engineering with a follow-on assignment of supporting the development of the MV-22 tilt-rotor aircraft in the Presidential Helicopter Program. He currently resides in Massillon with his beautiful wife, Andrea. They have 5 children: Cole McKee, Dominic Pipero, Taylor Pipero, Michael McKee, and Aiden McKee.
Thank you, everybody. How's everybody doing today? So I was at a football game 2 Saturdays ago. Some of you were probably there, and I learned something kind of cool. If I say TIG, what happens? That's not good enough. TIG. All right, in the classrooms too, TIG. All right. One thing I saw at that football game wasn't just the win of your football team, which I know is real important here in Massillon, but it's a community here. I thought it was really cool, you know, the support of the band, the cheerleaders, and then also, you know, you guys won the blood drive. You won for the food drive. You know, those are all really important things that you all did as a community, and it really says a lot. The other reason I did that TIG, there's a part of this, and my wife knows it, where I kind of get choked up. So I need you guys to help me out. If I get choked up, I need this side to start the TIG, and this side, the ERS, to kind of get me out of it, all right? So I might need your help today. All right, the theme of my talk today is brotherhood, sisterhood, and family, because that's what, let me see if I can fix this up here a little bit. That's what we have as veterans in the armed services. And I think that's what you all have in this community. You need to keep moving it forward. But before I do that, I just want to say, you know, I'm humbled and honored to be able to speak today in front of the veterans, in front of the staff and faculty here. It's a real honor to get to come out here and speak in front of so many distinguished veterans and people of our community. I'd like to thank Principal Launschlager, wasn't going to screw it up, Superintendent Salvino and Ms. Parr for inviting me here today to speak. I'd like to thank the faculty for taking time out of your schedule and let your students come to do this today. I think it's really important. I also, you know, it is Veterans Day, but I got some devil dogs here in the front row and maybe some veterans here too, and it was our birthday yesterday, so happy belated birthday and hoorah, right? There we go. You know, I also got to thank God and my Savior, Jesus Christ, because without them, I definitely wouldn't be here today. I also want to thank my family, who's not all here. Spent a lot of time away from them. Cole, my oldest, who was a senior up in Revere. Dominic Pipero, who went to Perry, no booze. Taylor Pipero, who went to Perry too, is now down at OU. And then I got a son, Michael, who's a senior, and a little one, Aiden, who's now in 7th grade up in Revere as well. And then, I was said earlier, my beautiful wife, Andrea, she saved my life more than once, so thank you. You know, all these things got me through my time in the military and after that. So the things I'm going to talk about, you know, I said brotherhood, sisterhood, and family, because it's so important the way you get there. You know, it's not just the brotherhood, it's not the family, it's not the end, it's the little things you do to get there, and that's kind of what I'm going to talk about in the next couple minutes. Promise it won't be that long. So like I said in the intro, I served 20 years in my beloved Marine Corps and retired, served from 1991 to 2011. I loved every minute of it. Following graduation from high school, I did go to the Naval Academy 4 years, got to row crew there, and met some of my best friends, still friends with. One of them's a general in the Marine Corps right now, he's still in. We went back and saw them in August or in May of this last year. Hung out with them for a little bit. A couple other guys showed up that used to fly special operations missions, and now they're flying for the airlines. and you pick it up like it was yesterday, and it's something I'll always cherish. And when I went to flight school, it was a big decision because I went to infantry officer course and I loved it. I love leading Marines, but I had an opportunity to go to flight school and I thought I'd try that out. It's like I said earlier, I got checked out in the UH-1 November. It's my little baby right here. UH-1 November in the Marine Corps, our squadrons, let me take this off. We're called the HMLA, Helicopter Medium Light Attack Squadron. So I flew these Hueys. I also had time in the Cobra when we were in Somalia. We go out there and we protect the troops on the ground. We get called in for close-in fire support. We escort aircraft if we need to. Most of my deployments were off ships like this. If anyone in the Navy here, you know, I was on the USS Tarawa, the Bella Wood, the Essex. I was actually on the Tarawa's last voyage before they actually sunk it and made it a reef. So good memories. This is me just about a week ago. Look a little bit younger there. But this is Sergeant Roberts and Corporal Clotter, two brothers of mine from the Marine Corps. Sergeant Roberts here, he actually worked his way up, became a lieutenant colonel and retired, and he now works as an executive at Cessna, so just great men. This is that V-22 they talked about. I had the opportunity after I went back and got my master's to work on the development of this, bringing capability to the Marine Corps to save lives and get troops in and out of harm's way quickly. And I also got an opportunity to work on the presidential helicopter, which was a great opportunity right before I got out of the Marine Corps. I'm kind of telling you all this, not to brag or anything, but to kind of build some credibility that I know I'm talking about with Veterans Day, right? For the vets here and for the active duty. And so for local credibility, you know, it's who you hang out with that kind of gives you credibility. So I want to drop some names here. I live down the street and have become real good friends with your superintendent, Mr. Salvino. We've got some relatives in the audience, Mr. Kircher and Ms. Maxon, relatives of ours now through Andrea. And the one that's probably going to surprise you the most is I have a brother here. His name's David Morgan. And you may think, how can they possibly be brothers because I'm taller and better looking and have blonde, long hair, and he's kind of bald. But we've got to be really good friends, and I cherish his friendship. So thank you for everything you've done for me, David. So when they talk about the places I've been, just to talk a little bit more about what I did. When I got out into the Marine Corps, I was out for maybe 6 to 8 months at a flight school, and we got the call that Saddam Hussein had moved down to the border of Kuwait, and we had to get back right away and get ready to deploy over there. We had the helicopters turning, getting ready to fly up to a base north of ours in California to load up on transport aircraft and fly over to Iraq. And I walk in the ready room, and the commanding officer comes in. He throws me a bunch of money. He says, hey, go grab, we're 21, so go grab some beers. We were canceled. They pulled us back. But then 2 weeks later, we still deployed because things were going on in Somalia. I don't know if from your history classes, some bad guys in Somalia, they were trying to give aid and food to those people, and we had forces there. You probably saw some movies about that. And we were there for the pullout. So we went over there to Mogadishu, we did some training in Kenya, and then we flew missions in Somalia to get all the Marines and soldiers out of there that we needed to. Done missions in Bangladesh, relief missions, so the Marines don't just always go over and fight. You know, I deployed on what we call Marine Expeditionary Units, and you have an aviation unit, you have infantry, you have logistics to do sustained combat operations for 30 days. We used to leave out of Camp Pendleton, California, here in San Diego. We transfer over to Hawaii, do some training. Been to places like Malaysia, Okinawa. We go through the Straits of Malacca to Singapore, to Malaysia, into the Indian Ocean, you know, over to Africa sometimes, Horn of Africa, or up here with Djibouti, Africa, Somalia, up into the Persian Gulf up here, places like Qatar, Oman, then into Kuwait and Iraq, the coast of Iran. But the Marine Expeditionary, you know, one thing that's great about it is, you know, just like I said, combat. We were in Bangladesh when they had the big tsunami there, and to provide relief assistance to those people. I've done relief efforts in Southern California, even in that place, Djibouti, Africa, I talked about. We actually, our logistics unit, we went ashore and they did help build schools there. So it's really cool to be a part of that. And all that training and time together, you know, those little times you get to spend together. It's not the big stuff. It's those that draw you closer and get that brotherhood going. So here we go. This is the part I might need the TIG with. All right, so these guys are all brothers of mine. Just want to throw them up here because these are guys who they didn't all make it back. I'm just throwing this up there to kind of make it real because most of them are pretty young, right? This is Josh Meadows, Brian Smith, Colonel Dave Green, Gerald Bloomfield, Mario Carrazzo, John Walsh. This will help me out. His call sign was actually Casper, and those who've been in the military will kind of get a kick out of this. As a pilot, we get call signs, and he got Casper because he was never around. Like, he could figure out how to hide anywhere, right? And one time I was looking for him to go on a mission, and he was in charge of a bunch of younger guys, right, underneath him. And I go in, I'm asking, hey, where's Captain Walsh at? And they're like, sir, he's around somewhere. You know, his cover, the thing you wear, it's on the desk, and his keys. And I'm like, if you guys notice, there's like an inch of dust on his cover and his keys. Like, he's got an extra set. He just leaves them here so people think he's at work. So it's kind of funny. He got a bunch of characters. So he would make people think he was at work, and he was never at work unless he was flying. He loved flying. And Staff Sergeant Nesmith, one of the greatest crew chiefs I ever got to fly with. Ronnie Mobade, a good friend of mine from the Naval Academy, died in a training exercise. Tom Torpy and Dave Cross died in a training exercise too. This is Scotty Zellum and his son. They died in a training exercise. And Robbie Falkenbach, who was one of the guys I helped train, also died in training exercise. And that's the other thing that people don't really know about, especially in aviation. You know, we had a few guys die in combat, but a lot of guys, the training they do is really dangerous. And we try to keep it as safe as possible, but those guys, it's not just about being in combat. It's these guys put their life on the line every day with the training they do, whether it's on the ground or in the air, to help ensure our freedom. So thanks for helping me get through that. The other thing I want to say is I'm going to throw this out there. We had he's not up here. I couldn't find a picture of him. It's Dave Baxton. He actually, when I was in the Marine Corps, he got out and had a couple buddies like this, but he committed suicide. And that's a real deal. You know, we have up to 22 servicemen a day commit suicide. There's organizations out there to help them, like 22 Kill, some other things. But if you have a chance to get involved in any of that, it's great. You know, you need to go up and talk to a veteran, which I'll get to later. Take advantage of that, because that's a special thing to help try to solve that horrible problem that's going on right in our world right now. All right, so in the Marine Corps, you know, we're not professional teachers like here, but they teach us to teach classes. I had to teach classes in navigation, weather, teach guys how to fly the helicopter, tactics, how to use weapon systems. And these guys will know up front. They teach you, it's three things. You tell them what you're going to tell them, you tell them, and then you tell them what you told them. So we kind of burn it in your brain. So I'm going to keep it to four things here. I'm going to talk about a hat, a breech, caring and getting dirty, and a gift. So first with the hat, I want you all to take 5 seconds, kind of close your eyes, just kind of think about when you see this hat, what it means to you. Anybody want to throw anything out there? Shout. Grandpa? I don't hear very well, so you're not going to hear you. So we got grandpa, service maybe, commitment. Awesome. Yep, honor, duty, country. You know, in the Marine Corps, and like any of the services, we train a lot, and we get closer together. I'm sorry. And we establish that brotherhood. You know, this hat, like I'm sure you see, we don't have any in the audience right now, but I've got a couple up here. You know, we got hats that talk about the ships we served on, you know, what branch of service we served in. And you see those all around. And what I want to say is don't fall asleep. Don't ignore those things. If you see those things out in your community, let it stir something in you, you know, that that those people did something for you and that they sacrificed for you. Keep your eyes open for that. You know, and I want to get all the students to stand up real quick. Just got to make sure you're not sleeping on me, right? All right, how many people in here had a parent that has served? Raise your hand. Look at that. Look around you. Look at that. That service there too. You know, parents leaving, grandparents leaving, the worry in that. So just keep that in mind that all around you, you've got people that are going through something with their parents being deployed and serving their country. Thanks. You can sit down now. The reason I wanted to make this a symbol, this hat, is that, you know, there's a lot of, we get distracted in life, like I said, to keep your eyes open. But these pictures up here, you know, we go from World War II, to Korea, down to Vietnam. We've got OIF and then Desert Storm, present day OIF, OEF. And I'd just like to take some time and we can kind of clap our hands together for some of these guys. Who here, is anyone here served in World War II? Korea? During the Korean time? Stand up, sir. Thank you. What about Vietnam? Anybody here or had a relative that maybe served in Vietnam? What about Desert Storm? Anybody here serve in Desert Storm? Thank you, sir. And then present day, anybody that's in the, I know you guys are serving now, but you can stand up too. You can get a round of applause. Stand up, front row. Come on, Devil Dogs, stand up. Sailors, there you go. You deserve it. All right. And just to put some perspective on that, you know, and I'm not a historian. I grabbed these numbers out of a book I have, but, you know, World War II, 16 million served. 291,000 killed and 670,000 wounded. That's almost 1 million people killed or wounded in World War II. And I heard a statistic yesterday that there's only like 300,000 World War II vets left. So that's a precious, precious gift that we have, those guys walking around. In Korea, 5.7 million served, 33,000 killed. I mean, think about that. 103,000 wounded. And that's up there in your right-hand corner. Is freezing cold up there in the Frozen Chosen. Vietnam, 2.3 million, combined with Desert Storm, and 2.3 million served. And then Desert Storm, 148 killed. So we're getting better, you know, with the weapon systems we have, the technology, the ways to protect guys, but guys are still injured externally and internally coming back, and you may see some of those in the community. And like I said, don't hold back. Don't keep your eyes shut. Don't look at your phones. Go up and thank them. Think about that. Whenever you see one of those hats, and it's like a notification on your phone when you get like not Instagram or Facebook. You guys are like, what? What do you get notifications on your phone for? Snapchat? Yeah, that's good. Snapchat. TikTok, maybe? TikTok? All right. So keep that in mind. So the next thing, you know, we got the hat, which we talked about. We have any hunters out there? Yeah? All right. You know, in a rifle, you got a round, right, that gets pushed up with a bolt into what we call the breech of the rifle, and it holds it. And that breech is strong, and it holds all that pressure when that firing pin comes up and hits that primer and ignites all that cartridge up there. And so I want you to think of that when you see that hat, you know, it's like, it's the notification to move you up into that breach, to do something. You know, that round's ready to do something. It's not doing it yet, but it's ready to do something. It's ready to go down range and do what it's supposed to do. Hit a target, take out the enemy. So when you see those hats walking around Massillon or the mall or at a sporting event, think, you know, I need to step up. I need to move into that breach, get the courage, withstand that pressure, and take some action to do something for that in my community and for that person. You know, and that could be going up and saying thank you, shaking his hand. It could be helping somebody else, opening a door for someone, you know, thinking about the next day, helping a teacher out, helping a friend. You know, you've got that saying here, I love, all in for kindness. You know, I'll get to that in a little bit. All in for kindness is more than just thinking about it. So you're in that breach, you're taking action, you're reaching out and you're helping. But there's more you can do, right? We got the round up here you can look at, and then we got some dirt. My kids and Andrea, probably people at work, get crazy because I talk about dirt all the time, about caring and getting dirty. If you can do that and you're going to be successful in life, you see this Marine here, this is a race for people who aren't in the Marine Corps, mud run. You know, he could be out there cheering and just saying, let's go, but he's getting dirty, right? He got in there, she needed some help. He's not doing it all for her, but he's helping her out. He's reaching out there and he's getting dirty. He's taking action. I don't know if you remember a couple years ago, this guy from FSU, football player, star football player for Florida State, they were visiting the school like they do before games, and he saw this little boy that had autism sitting all by himself. They didn't even have, none of the guys were going to go talk to anybody. They were just in front getting recognized. You know, they were getting the glory. But he decided to turn it around, and he went out there and ate lunch with this little boy. He took action, right? He didn't just care and just sit there and think, wow, that poor kid, he moved in and he did something about it. So I challenge you to do the same thing, you know, that caring is also, it's not being wimpy, it's not just being sweet. You know, caring can be hard too, right? I know times in the Marine Corps I had to counsel guys, counsel families. I had to sit with moms who lost somebody, fiancés. I had to call guys out for things they weren't doing right, but you do it in a loving way. You know, praise in public, reprimand in private is a good thing to live by. Unless you're on a football field, then you can yell at people to get their act together. But keep that in mind, that, you know, caring and getting dirty is having those tough conversations maybe with a friend that you're worried about, someone who's doing something that they probably shouldn't be doing, going down a road they shouldn't be, maybe reaching out to a counselor, having them get help. So keep that in mind. And this all kind of culminates in a gift. I'm not very good with props. Let me see if I can get this up here. So, you know, we got this hat, and it's definitely not going to fit in there, but that hat is a reminder, right? And you got this breach you're going to think about, that when you see that hat, you're like, you know what? I'm going to start getting up the courage to go out and do something. And then you're going to remember this dirt, and you're going to get dirty for somebody. Let me see if I can do this without dropping everything. You know, and all that, I say a gift because, you know, you hear people like, some people say it's your duty or an obligation to look after the freedom that was given you by veterans or by people who have served. And I don't like thinking of it as an obligation. That reminds me of like homework or something, or taxes. A gift, though, you get a gift, you know, you graduate and get some money, you get a new car, you get a gift at Christmas when you're little. That makes you just full of joy and happy, makes you want to do something. Makes you want to say thank you and give back. So think of this, all this as a gift, what these veterans have done for you and your community, and use that to give back to your community, to do that all in for kindness, and not just think about it or say it, but actually do something and actually reach out to somebody, to care and get dirty. You know, keep creating your own brotherhood here at school, in your classes, your church, your community, and that's the biggest gift you can give for the gift that they gave you. And don't waste time. I saw this chart and I loved it. It was in a book I was reading. It's called, you know, a life chart. And what it represents is, get this out of here again. You know, there's 52 squares across each line. It's about 80 rows deep. So for me, it's about, I hope I live to 80, half my life. And make sure you're filling every one of those squares up with something important, because you only get so many of them, and you don't know where it's going to stop. You know, I put 80. Some of the things I've been in, it could have stopped at the 20th row, the 25th row, the 30th row. And by the grace of God, it didn't. I got to live on and try to make an impact. So just think about this. This is your life, and how you're going to fill it up with the things you do and the people you impact, because that's what's the most important. And I know you all probably see that, right? People who are on the football team, you're still going, but it's going to be over soon. Volleyball, cross country, I think golf is spring sport. You know, it's already over. You seniors, it's done. You know, and hopefully you made an impact and feel good about it, but your senior year is going to be done soon. You're going to be out in the real world. So make the most of the rest of this year. Make the most of your time here at high school, and don't waste it. Work on that brotherhood, sisterhood, and family every day. So now I'll tell you what I told you. The teaching, you know, like they taught us in the Marine Corps. Talked about a hat and using that as a notification to be spurred to do something. About that breach, building up that courage to go ahead and actually reach out and do something. You know, the importance of caring and getting dirty for people in your family and community and school. And then what a gift it is to have the freedom you have to be able to do that and to be able to take that opportunity to reach out to people. And it doesn't have to, I'm wrapping up real quick, but it doesn't have to be some huge heroic thing, right? It can be something little. One of the books I read, I had one of my best friends growing up, he lost his son to a tragic accident when he was only 9 years old. He's the same year as my oldest son. And there's this guy who works at a college up in Washington who mentored him and got him through that. And he wrote a great book called The Grace Disguised. And what he said in there was, you know, there's big things you can do and there's big decisions you have to make in your life, but the real thing that matters is the little choices you make every day that set the trajectory for the rest of your life. The little choices you make to fill in those blocks. So keep that in mind, you know, keep in mind that hat and the breach, caring and getting dirty, and what a gift this whole thing is, what our life is, and go out there and do great things. And thank you for taking the time to listen to me and listen to me get a little choked up. And my wife went to Perry, so she's going to kill me, but I'm going to say, you know, beat Perry, right? You got a big game coming up?
The Washington High School Wind Orchestra will now present a medley of military service songs. Not only do we honor all veterans of each of these branches, but we also invite all members of the military who are in attendance today, past and present, to stand and be recognized when your song is played. Thank you for your service. The United States Navy. United States Army. United States Marines. United States Air Force. United States Coast Guard. The Stars and Stripes Forever. At this time, we invite everyone to stand for the playing of taps to honor those who have fallen. Performed today by senior trumpet players Jordan Higgins and Olivia Musi.
You may please stay standing. Thank you for your attention this morning. I want to thank everybody that's here in attendance, especially our special guests and their families, along with Mr. McKee for his special message. I want to thank the students that are in attendance. Please see your eyes. I want to thank you for the respect that you've shown this morning to those people that are here and those people that have passed before us. Thank you very much. I want to, at this point, please stay standing for the retirement of colors.
Post. March. Land. Hey. Center, base. Right, base. Detail, forward, march.
Your devices are multiplying. Can your internet keep up? Break free from device overload and upgrade with MCTV. We offer blazing fast speeds, up to 100 megabits per second, giving you more bandwidth to binge, game, and browse. Try on a smile with MCTV. Upgrade today. MCTV. We go the extra smile.
I joined cosmetology because I've always loved coloring hair and different colors and makeup.
I joined media because I've always had a passion for all things related to media.
I've always had a passion for teaching other people, especially topics that I'm interested in.
I want to pursue a career as an orthopedic surgeon. And so when I saw that we had this class, I immediately circled it on my schedule and was excited to join.
This class has made me better because it made me very responsible.
I like the relationships that I've developed in this class. The girls that are in here with me, I've really grown close with all of them.
I joined this class because I enjoy helping others and I want to make a difference.
Even like just making something and having people go, wow, that's really interesting. It means the world.
It was just a really good environment to be in. It was real hands-on, and it was just something I really wanted to do.
I joined the construction trades to gain experience in the job I want in the future.
Everything that this class has taught me will account for my career in the future.
Before I came to this class, I was unemployed, and Ms. Markley helped me get a job.
I'm going to use what I learned in manufacturing in order to better decide my career.
It gave me more knowledge on cars and gave me plans to go in the auto industry.
Massillon CTE works for me.
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 Works for me.
For me.
For me.
For me. Massillon CTE works for me.